Hi, if you're shooting a long telephoto lens such as the 600mm f4, 500mm f4 or even the 400mm 2.8, you might not necessarily want to hold it for hours straight. The pictures could get blurry, you will get tired, and it will not make the whole thing enjoyable anymore. So choosing the right tripod and tripod head is kind of important, and I've had a couple of tripod heads so far. And since around 1.5 years or a bit more, I've been shooting only with the Flexshooter Pro tripod head, which is kind of a hybrid tripod head between a ball head and a gimbal head. And today I wanted to first of all show you how it's working, and then tell a bit from my experience what I liked, what I didn't like, and whether I would buy it again if I could, or rather go for something else. Before I was using the Flexshooter Pro, I was actually using two tripod heads. One small ball head that was fine for landscapes and macro, but it was already kind of reaching its limit when using the 70-200 2.8, and it was certainly not doing well with the 500mm f4 that I had, and even worse the 600mm f4. So for these long telephoto lenses I was using this gimbal head, which was actually fine, but it had some problems. First of all, for me it was quite heavy and also bulky. If I had it on the backpack, I always felt like it was not so comfortable to carry around. And while a gimbal head has the advantage that if you tilt it to the left and right, the image stays completely stable. This only holds true, of course, if the gimbal head itself is leveled. And since I don't have a level on my tripod itself, I always needed to make sure that the tripod was leveled, so I needed to readjust the legs all the time, which was kind of cumbersome and for me defeating a bit the purpose. So I was not 100% happy, and what finally made me buy this new tripod head was that this one was falling apart. Namely, here the mounting part was not working anymore, so it has served its years, but it was time for something new, and I decided not to go for a Gimbal head anymore, but rather go for this Flexshooter. So what is this Flexshooter doing? It's trying to combine both of it, and I'm trying to show you a bit how it works. So basically, if you just loosen this knob, you have a big ball head that you can use as normal. There's no friction control or anything, but otherwise it works quite fine, and you can control the friction a tiny bit by how much you tighten the knob. It's not perfect, but it works, and once you have the proper position, you just lock it down. This is the ball head function that works quite well for landscapes and general stuff. And then the problem with the ball head and the large telephoto lens, I think it's actually best if I just show you what the problem is. So if I take the big lens here, as I said, in my case it's the 600, but will work with any telephoto lens. And now I loosen the ball head. It happens quite quickly that it kind of falls either on the right or the left side, so it's really not a stable position. It's kind of awkward handling and not nice at all. So what this Flexshooter head is doing is I can use this big ball head to kind of level it. I have a small how is this called, a level, like this thing with the air bubble, and fix it when it's more or less flat. And then here on the back I just have a silver screw which I can loosen, and now, as hard as I try, the tripod head cannot go to the left or right. The only thing that would move is the tripod. It only goes back or forth and back, and of course left and right, so I can still panning, tilting and everything, but it's not falling off. And since I leveled this plate, it also means I can shoot and the horizon will stay smooth, perfectly horizontal all the time. It's quite a smooth movement, even though I need to say I felt the gimbal was a bit nicer, but overall that's the concept, basically combining both into one head. Maybe some more specs about the Flexshooter Pro. This one is weighing about 700 grams, which should be close to 1.5 pounds according to my homework, and it's costing around 570 euros, $600 US. To my knowledge, it's made in Europe, and maybe I can start with this. I've been quite happy with the build quality. I didn't feel any degradation over this. Like I said, a bit more than 1.5 years. Of course, I see that some of the color, some of the paint got removed. This is mostly just to the normal wear and tear. If I put the big lens in and out, maybe I hit it with something, but nothing that would in any way affect the functionality of the ball head. So how happy was I in general with the function of this head? I think I will split this in two parts. First, let's start with the normal ball head function, or more like the wide angle use case, and afterwards then jump to the big telephoto lens. So for wide angle, I was quite happy with the ball head function in general. I would have wished sometimes a tension friction knob, but it's not the end of the world that this is not there. And actually, if again you level this out, you can still use this silver knob to use it like as a panoramic movement, so using a bit the gimbal function here. But I also didn't expect that this tripod head would struggle with the small lens. How did it perform with the big one? Well, actually also quite fine. I mean, I was mostly using it when I was really staying in one location for a longer time. For example, in heights where I was taking pictures of songbirds, or maybe sometimes close to a river or lake where the shore was kind of steep or something, and I could not lay down flatly and have a nice low perspective and low angle with just putting my camera on the ground. So I actually put the tripod in the water and then the camera on top of it. And this setting, the tripod in the water with a big lens on it, was actually the scenario where I found it's reaching a bit the limits, and you can feel that it's in a way still a compromise. Like I said, you have this movement like on a gimbal head, but the big difference to a gimbal head, no matter how hard you will hit like a gimbal head, it will always tend to come down. Or if you have the knob set too strongly, it will stay. But what cannot happen is that it flips over. And with this one, the setting is a bit different. So if you have it completely loose, it's not coming back, and it could potentially rather fall a bit on the other side. Even though, again, here I need to say I didn't have any troubles. I was using it above water. I would just be a bit more careful thinking of how it's designed. That yeah, you have a bit a higher risk of dripping the lens into the water than you have with the gimbal head. One thing I found a bit annoying in the beginning was that even if I locked the ball head knob completely, it was not completely fixed. With the big lens, there was kind of still an inertia that was sometimes causing it to flip over, and this was mostly notable when I was taking the tripod like this and then basically carrying like that over my shoulder and walking around, which once you have it on the tripod, this is actually a nice way of carrying the lens. And the good thing is I could solve this. There is a small screw in here, and if you tighten this one, the whole tightening here will also be stiffer or more tight. And after tightening this screw, this was really not an issue anymore. I could carry it over my shoulder as demonstrated, and I was really happy with it. So what's my conclusion? Is it really the perfect all-around tripod head, or is it kind of combining the worst things of the gimbal head with the worst things of a ball head? In my opinion, it's a really good all-rounder. I mean, I have really only small complaints, and I think for example for landscape work, the ball head is kind of on the heavy side. It's a bit overkill and you're carrying a bit more. But if the alternative is taking two tripod heads, it's still a super lightweight combination, lightweight setting. And for the telephoto, I still feel like a proper gimbal head has some advantages. Everything feels a bit smoother. On the other hand, I really like that the leveling base is kind of integrated, and the general handling was fine. It was just so much smaller on the backpack and everything. So if I would need to make the same decision again, let's say just buying a new tripod head that should serve for both bird photography and for landscape, macro and other things, and I also know that I need to carry it a bit from different places and not like going by car, getting out of the car and walking for 20 meters, then I think I would definitely buy this one again. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any questions, please just put them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. One final remark, I was not paid to do the review or anything. It was not even a free sample. I paid for this tripod head completely regularly, as you would as well. and I hope you have a nice time. See you for the next video. Bye.